I don't know what we saw that night, and to be honest, I don't want to know. For 10 years we had lived on that farm, tending to our pigs, studying the land, and trying to understand why the ecosystem around Boggy Creek seemed to be dying. The forest had always felt a little off, but we never paid it much mind. That changed in the fall of 1992. It started with the animals. We'd find carcasses half-eaten, left floating in the creek, or hanging from trees like some kind of warning. A deer, its ribcage split open, its insides missing but its eyes still wide with terror. A raccoon, torn in half, its head left on our porch like a sick joke. Something was killing them, but not for food, just for the sake of killing. We called the sheriff. He gave us the same look he always did when we reported something strange. "Probably coyotes," he muttered, chewing on the end of his cigarette. "Or a bear. A bear doesn't rip animals apart and leave them hanging like decorations." But we didn't argue. That night, we were sitting on the porch, drinking beer and listening to the pigs rustle in their pen. The night was quiet. Too quiet. Then, from deep in the woods, we heard it. A scream. Not human, not animal. Something else. It started as a high-pitched wail before breaking into guttural, choking howls that sent the pigs into a frenzy. Our dogs started barking like mad, straining against their chains. "What the hell is that?" Tommy muttered, gripping his beer so tight I thought the bottle would break. "I don't know," I said, standing up. "Maybe an owl," Eric offered weakly. "That ain't no owl," Jack shot back. "It's—" He stopped himself. We all knew what he wanted to say. We shined our flashlights toward the trees, but saw nothing, just darkness. The next morning, the sheriff showed up. "We got a problem," he said, his face pale. "Something attacked a hiker near here last night. Tore him up real bad, but he made it to the hospital. He's in stable condition now." We glanced at each other uneasily. "We heard something," I admitted. "A noise. Something unnatural." "Yeah, well," the sheriff sighed, adjusting his belt. "We're searching the area, seeing if we can track whatever did this." That night, we stayed inside, doors locked, lights off. The sheriff and his deputies were still out there looking. Around 10:12 p.m., the radio crackled. Static, then heavy breathing. "Lock your doors. Turn off your lights." The sheriff's voice came through, ragged and panicked. In the background, I could hear men shouting. "Something just ran on us. Fast. It's heading your way. Now." My stomach dropped. We killed the lights, locked every door, and peered out the windows. In the distance, we saw the deputies' flashlights flickering wildly, sweeping through the trees. Then something burst from the tree line, racing across our property. It was tall, but hunched, its long arms swinging as it moved. It didn't run like a man or an animal. It moved low to the ground, but fast. Too fast. It barreled through the pig pen, the wooden fence splintering like matchsticks. The pigs screamed, an awful, panicked sound. And then there was silence. It was gone. The officers searched for hours, but the tracks vanished as if the thing had never existed. 5 days later, we packed up and left. We never spoke about what we saw, and we never went back. I've lived in these swamps all my life, seen things, done things, learned what it takes to survive. But I'll tell you this, the hardest part about living in Boggy Creek ain't just finding food or building a home. It's knowing when to leave things alone. That night, the fire crackled as I sat among the young campers, my belly full of hot dogs and catfish. They were good kids, but cocky. City kids, mostly. They thought a weekend in the swamp was an adventure, something to brag about when they got back home. I saw a couple off to the side, lips locked, oblivious to the world. "Hey," I called out. "If you two lovebirds are done sucking face, You might want to pay attention. This ain't the place to be distracted." The other kids laughed. The boy wiped his mouth, embarrassed. I leaned in closer, letting the firelight flicker against my weathered face. "I seen it all out here. People get lost. People don't come back. I know these woods better than anyone, but there's things out there even I don't understand." One of the boys scoffed. "You mean the Boggy Creek monster?" He grinned, tossing a stick into the flames. "Come on, old man. That thing's a fairy tale." "Oh, is it now?" I chuckled, shaking my head. "Ain't no fairy tale, boy. That thing is real. And I'll tell you something. It ain't like what you see in those bullshit documentaries. No, sir. It's bigger, smarter, meaner." The kids leaned in, even the ones who had been laughing before. "I seen it with my own eyes," I continued. "More than once. But never, not once, did I ever try to cross its path." One of the girls, her face pale in the firelight, whispered, "What does it look like?" I swallowed hard. Even after all these years, the memory sent a shiver down my spine. Its face. God help me. Its face was something else. Like if you took a bear, a wolf, and a gorilla, and mixed them all together into one big mean son of a bitch. But worse, its eyes weren't right. Too human. Too damn knowing. The kids were quiet now. Good. They needed to listen. "You want to hear the worst part?" I asked, staring into the fire. "I saw it kill someone before." A couple of them gasped. "A kid, just about your age." The fire popped, sending embers into the night. "I was skinning a deer in my cabin when I heard him. A boy, calling for his folks. People got lost around here all the time, and I always tried to help when I could. But before I even stepped outside, I saw it." I paused, gripping my knee as the memory crawled its way back. That thing. It was hiding in the tall grass, watching him, studying him. I ran for my shotgun, but by the time I got back to the window, I let out a slow breath. It was too late. The campers sat frozen, their faces white as ghosts. "I ain't gonna tell you what I saw next," I muttered, shaking my head. "Some things ain't meant to be spoken about. But I'll tell you this. I didn't intervene. I wanted to. I should have. But I knew if I stepped outside, I'd be just as dead as that boy." Silence. Only the crackling of the fire remained. Finally, one of the kids spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "Why are you telling us this?" I looked each of them in the eye, making sure they understood. "Because there are things in this world that go beyond understanding. Things you don't mess with. Things that don't give second chances." Nobody said a word. Then, slowly, one by one, the kids moved closer. A couple of them even hugged me, like they were trying to chase away the chill in their bones. I let them, because deep down, I knew, no matter how safe they felt by the fire, no matter how much they wanted to believe it was just a story, something was out there, watching, and it never forgets.